Hello everyone, I'm Chef Vernetta and happy holidays. Today we will be making a sweet potato cobbler. So this is a play on your sweet potato pie and your peach cobbler. It's something different to add to your holiday spread. It's easy, it's quick, it's delicious, and I know that your family and friends will love this. It's not even a recipe that you can do for the holidays. You can do it all throughout the year. You can modify it. You can add pecans. You can add pralines. You can add anything to it. But today, we're just going to do the basic sweet potato cobbler. We're not going to add any pecans or anything. So I'm excited to share this recipe with you all. So we have some sweet potatoes that I have already peeled. We have some brown sugar, and it's up to you if you like dark brown sugar or light brown sugar. I have light brown sugar, so it's gonna not caramelize as much or not get as dark, and that's why I like the light brown sugar instead of the dark brown sugar. I have cinnamon and allspice, vanilla extract, and almond extract. I mixed it together. We're gonna put it all in the recipe together so you can put it together. But the almond gives it a little bit extra in the background. It makes you feel like, what is that I'm tasting? So the almond extract, I love to add it to baked dishes. I have a little bit of salt. Now in here, it looks like a lot just because I portioned it out, but we're just gonna add a pinch of salt to this dish. A little bit of olive oil. You all can see some butter, and our butter is unsalted. Make sure you have unsalted butter, and we have evaporated milk. So all of this is going to go inside of our sweet potato cobbler. We're going to do a pie crust as well. For this recipe tonight, I have a pre-made pie crust. It's up to you. If you want to make your pie crust from scratch, you definitely can. I prefer to do a store-bought one for this recipe just because it's a little bit quicker. And during the holidays, we're cooking so much, we're in the kitchen a lot. So anything that you can do to kind of cut back on time, I say go for it. Don't feel bad if you use a store-bought crust. You can make your crust ahead of time if you like, but that is totally up to you. So I can't wait to get started to show you all this recipe so you can see how easy it is and how good it is. Now what I went ahead and done, so you will hear my voice, but you won't see me. I went ahead and adjusted the camera so that you all can see when I cut the sweet potatoes, because what you want to do to start out with this recipe is start your oven at 350 degrees. So you want to get your oven preheated. We're going to slice the potatoes. We're going to put them in the pan, and we're going to roast them in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. You can boil your potatoes on the stove in water if you like. I always prefer, whenever I'm using sweet potatoes or regular potatoes, I prefer to roast them because it brings out the natural flavor in them. It brings out the natural sugars. Whenever you add water to something, if you're boiling it, water has no taste, so it's just going to weigh down your potatoes and add extra moisture to them. So I like to roast my potatoes, and if I'm making like a baked potato or even mashed potatoes, I will roast them in the oven and then scoop the inside out. But if you want to move this recipe on a little bit quicker, you can slice your potatoes and boil them on the stove for about 10 or 15 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and roast these first. So I'm just going to take my potato and I'm going to slice it. You want to make it in medallions. So I have about 1.5 inch thick medallions on the potato, and I'm just going to slice them. And you want to leave them fairly thick because they're going to cook down more inside of our cobbler. So just slice your potatoes. Sweet potatoes, any potatoes are so thick. So just be careful when you're cutting them. Like tonight, I should have put a towel up under my cutting board to keep it from sliding. So that's why it's moving a little bit. So whenever you're using your cutting board, if you want to put like not wet or a damp towel under the cutting board, it will prevent it from sliding. So that's a little trick, and it also keeps your fingers safe. So we're just going to slice our potatoes. And I dropped one, but that's okay. He got away. He didn't want to go into the recipe. And I love cooking around the holidays because it's just fun. It's a time to be with your family and your friends. You can even get your kids involved in the kitchen during this time and just have fun. Recipe, play, try something different, try something that you're not used to. And so it's just a time to just have fun and enjoy, you know, family and friends, and not, you know, be so serious. Just have a good time. Like, I even made some cookies because I thought about doing cookies for this video. So I made these cookies on Saturday, and I still may do a video for you all on the cookies because they turned out really good. So I may do that for you all. So I have my sweet potatoes cut. You can see I kept them fairly thick. I'm going to put them back inside of my bowl. And I'm going to add them to a pan because I will roast them in the oven. So I have a pan already that I sprayed. I'm going to put the potatoes in the pan. And I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil to the potatoes while they roast. And I'm going to give them a stir just to make sure that they're coated. And this is such a quick and easy and good recipe. So we are going to just make sure that they're kind of spread out in the pan as well so they'll cook evenly. All right, so we have our potatoes, our sweet potatoes. We're gonna put these in the oven at 350 degrees on the top shelf, and we want to let them cook for about 20 to 25 minutes. You just wanna get them fork tender. You don't want them too soft because when we put the cobbler together, it's gonna bake in the oven for another maybe about 30-35 minutes. So you just want to get them fork tender. So I'm going to go ahead and get these in the oven, and we will come back and mix our cobbler together. Okay, so we have our sweet potatoes out of the oven, and I roasted them about 25 to 30 minutes, a little bit longer. That's the thing with sweet potatoes or any vegetable. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer for them to cook. They may be a little bit denser than normal. So you just want to check them. You want to just make sure that they are fork tender. So if it takes a little bit longer, that's fine. You can also, once again, boil them if you like. So I got our sweet potatoes done, and I'm going to set these to the side. And I have a greased pie plate. And what I did while I was waiting for my sweet potatoes was I started to kind of chunk the butter. So I'll do that so you all can see, because we're just going to kind of put this in the bottom of our dish. So I'm just gonna, and I just was breaking off pieces of the butter And so this recipe I've been making for a while, and it calls for 8 tablespoons of butter, but I am going to adjust this a little bit, not because I want to, but just for health reasons. We want to make sure that we're keeping the dish healthy and light, so we're going to add less butter to it. The good thing about this recipe is kind of easy to remember. It's 1 1 1 1. So a cup of the milk, and then a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon of the cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of the allspice, 1 teaspoon of the almond extract, 1 teaspoon of the vanilla extract, a cup of brown sugar, and then just a pinch of salt. So I want to, like I said, modify it a little bit. So I'm not going to add as much sugar. That was one of the reasons we roasted our sweet potatoes. And I'm not going to add as much butter. The extract and the spice, you can add as much as you like. Cinnamon is really good for you, so you can add a lot of cinnamon. If you like a lot of cinnamon, that's totally up to you. But the stuff like the sugar and the butter, you kind of want to modify that a little bit if you're just trying to eat a little bit healthier. So we also have our pie crust that we're going to use. We're not going to put any at the bottom. We're just going to kind of layer it and put it on the top. And so what I'm going to do is set that to the side. And I'm going to take my pie dish. And I'm going to start by adding a little bit of butter to the bottom of the pan or the dish. And you may need 2 spoons for this. If you want to glove up and throw it in there, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to add a little bit to the bottom of the pan or the dish. And you just want to get it evenly around it. Not perfect, but just throughout. And I'm using 2 spoons. If anybody knows right now, it's been so hard to find gloves in the store. And so I love using gloves when I'm in the kitchen. And I wasn't able to get any small. So in order not to touch anything, I am using spoons. But you are welcome to, if you have gloves, to use them. So I have the butter at the bottom. I'm going to take a little bit of the brown sugar and just put it around the bottom as well. And your brown sugar will probably be in clumps when you take it out, so you just want to break it up a little bit and just spread it around the bottom of your dish. And then you want to start to add your sweet potatoes. And you're just going to add them in layers. So, that one fell in, but that's okay. So you just want to put them down. And one thing I said I was going to do with this video was not edit it so much. And just let you all see, you know, stuff that happens in the kitchen. You know, I think a lot of times, you know, when we watch shows like cooking shows and the Food Network that I love, I watch it all the time. The videos are edited, even, you know, on YouTube or other videos, they're edited. So it just makes it seem like everything in the kitchen is perfect, and it's not. Accidents happen in the kitchen. And I just don't want that to discourage anybody from cooking. You know, cooking is fun, it's enjoyable. And so if you make mistakes or drop something on the floor, or it doesn't come out how you thought it would come out the first time, that is okay. Just make it again. It'll all be fine, I promise. So we have our butter down, we have brown sugar down, we also have the sweet potatoes down. So now we're going to sprinkle our cinnamon and allspice, and we just want to sprinkle it around. And a pinch of salt, just a pinch of salt. There we go. And then I'm going to sit this to the side because our next step is the pie crust. We want to layer it on top of the mixture, and so we're just going to cut it in strips and layer it on top of the sweet potatoes that we already have down. And then grab my knife, and then we will just repeat the layers. So you just want to rough cut it. Doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to make the scripts. You can layer it whole, totally up to you. Once again, we want to make it fun, so we will take one. This is what I'll do so you all can see. I will take the pieces apart, and then I'll put our dish back on our cutting board so that you can see how I'm going to layer it on top of our mixture. And this is so fun. Like, cooking is relaxing, I think. So here we go. And we just want to just layer it on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you can save some of your strips because we want to get a few layers, hopefully. Go. And then we want to repeat the steps. So we're going to start adding our butter. And with this, because you have the layers, you can add the butter onto the strips of the pastry dough. And remember, we're using less butter. We're using less of the brown sugar. So I'm not gonna do, if we get another layer, I'm not going to add butter to that layer. I feel like this is enough, and it will do what we need our cobbler to do without it being so heavy. And also, it's the holidays. It's okay to splurge a little bit, but just in moderation. So we have our butter down, and we're going to add our brown sugar. Break that up some more. We're just going to sprinkle that. And we're going to do, well, no, we'll do our sweet potatoes first. Let's get our sweet potatoes down. And try to get them in different spots than when you put the first layer down. If you can do that, that will be great. And I was thinking maybe we could get 3 layers on this. I think it'll be good for us to get 3. If you get less layers or more layers, that's fine, depending on the size of your sweet potato. So you may have more sweet potatoes than you thought once you start cutting them, depending on the size. If they're larger sweet potatoes, the ones that I had were fairly smaller. So I still got a good bit out of them. And because I want to make one more layer, I'm not going to add any more. And then I'm going to, and I see I got a little bit of flour on my arm. But that's okay. It's all a part of the cooking. So sprinkle that there. And then one more pinch of salt, just a pinch, and sprinkle it around. There we go. And then we're gonna add our last, and I'm gonna go the opposite way, I think, on the strips. So I normally make this dish in a square casserole. So this is different doing it this way, but I think it'll be nicer and more festive looking for the holiday inside of a pie dish. So we have, it's looking good. Y'all can see it. And I'm not gonna do any more sugar or any more butter. It is up to you if you would like to, but I am not going to do it. What I will do is just add the rest of our sweet potatoes. And try to make sure I get those all around as much as possible. My last little bit of potatoes. And this smells so good. And this is something also that you can make ahead of time as well. So you can make it ahead of time before you bake it. And you can put it in the fridge until you get ready to bake it off. Some of my end pieces of potatoes were a little bit bigger, but that's fine. So I think this side could use a little bit more. Here we go. So all of our butter, our sugar, all of that's done. We have our potatoes here. I have one little guy on the side that's kind of tilted over, so I'm gonna put him back on top. Let's do this. Let's move this one over. We'll put him here. Slide this over here. And I said I wasn't going to edit because of perfectionism, but is that a word? Because of perfection, but look at me trying to make it perfect. I don't think perfectionism is a word. So here we go. And we have our cinnamon and our allspice, and we're going to add that to the top. And I'm not going to add any more sugar. I know I keep saying it. I think I'm trying to convince myself, but no more sugar added to the dish. And here we go. And the next step is we're going to take our milk. We're going to add our vanilla extract and almond extract to it. And we're going to whisk it in. This is the fun part. So this is what's going to give us that cobbler feel with the layers. And then we will take this here and we'll drizzle some over it. Just kind of get it mixed in there. And you don't want to use all of it. You want to use just about half of it, because we're going to pour the other half. Let's see, that was a little bit more than half, but then we're going to pour the other half on the top. So we have that all mixed in. We're going to take our last dough and put it on top. So we're going to lay it on top, and we just want to press it down. Make sure that we almost seal it, and then we'll crimp the edges once we get it all pressed in. And I like to give it a good press. And then you just want to roll and crimp your edges around. This is so fun. If you all watch any of my other videos, you know I don't really bake a lot. I have a few bake items that I make. So whenever I bake, I like it. I start to enjoy it, and I just hope everyone feels the same when making this dish. So we have it here, and we're going to cut some slits in the top. So I'm going to grab my knife. So we'll just And if you cut into a potato, that's fine. So we're just gonna cut almost a T shape in the top. You can see, so we cut T shape in the top. I'm gonna whisk our mixture again. Sit this here and I'll move this to the side. And we will take the last mixture of the milk and the vanilla extract and almond extract, and we're just gonna pour it across the top. And then what I like to do, this is just our spoon that we did our butter and our sugar with, and we just will kind of smooth it around, make sure that that mixture gets all around it, gets all around. And I'm going to just kind of move it around a little bit on the top to just make sure that it gets in the inside and gets all across the top. So here we go, looks good. And we're gonna get this in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes. We're gonna start on the bottom shelf. After 20 minutes, we want to put it on the top shelf because we want our crust to get golden brown. So next you all will see when it's out of the oven. Okay, so we have our sweet potato cobbler out the oven and it turned out really good. Can you all see it? It has a nice color. It turned out really, really, really nice. And I hope you all enjoy this recipe and try it for the holidays. It's a really, really good dish that's easy and delicious. And I know that your family and friends will love it. I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and everyone have a happy, happy holidays.